Thank you for coming to check out the behind the scenes for Chris Corlae. This one is actually an exercise in what doesn't work. We tried to do a one camera setup and there's just too many limitations on it, honestly. And so I thought I was going to have to scrap it, but I really wanted to keep it. I didn't want to have to try and redo it and recapture some of that magic that's in there with the heckler. So here it is. Thanks for coming to check it out.
I
Do your
think
thing.
I'm really excited actually to ask you a lot of these questions because I have questions and I think everybody secretly wants to be a comedian. And Nick told me you spent time in LA
Yeah.
exploring this whole thing.
I lived there for 2 years.
What part of LA?
West Hollywood was where I spent most of my time, but I lived in North Hollywood.
Okay. So why does one decide to be a comedian?
Well, it was a long and arduous road filled with many disappointments and man, I got to it and it really took a long time, and I'm disappointed that it took so long. But at the same time, it's like if it didn't, then it wouldn't have been what it was. So everything's beautiful and perfect, but it was something that took me a long time to get to. I'm 40. I'll be 47 in January, and I did stand up for about 11 years. And
Why did it take you so long to get to it?
well, I didn't really have a lot of good direction in my early life. I didn't. I went to college, but I didn't graduate. I've had every job under the sun that you could possibly imagine and been fired from half of them. I've tried to do everything. I tried to fit in. I tried to, be a yes man, a company guy, somebody who could go out and have a career and work their way up a ladder. But it was something that I just never really got it to come to fruition or to the point where I felt like I was being successful in that. And I found a lot of stress and strife and, depression and trying to figure out like, where's my place in this world? Like, this is what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. And I like nice things, and I would like a nice car, and I'd like to live somewhere in a nice apartment and have furniture and a TV that I love and all this stuff, but to do that, you have to go and get a job. And I just never really fit into that stuff. I was a terrible peon, and I don't suffer stupidity and I don't suffer, rules for no reason, just because we have them, because this person did this thing one time and now this is how we have to do it from now on. And it's like those kind of things. I'm the kind of person where I don't really believe that the rules apply to me. So I don't do well in a situation where there are a lot of rules. And as I said before, I played video games a lot of my life, and at that point in my life, I was really sucked into one in particular, and I was spending a lot of time doing that, and I was spending a lot of time really not being fulfilled with my life, and I just kind of got to a point where I just made a decision to figure it out, and just I sat and I thought about, well, what am I good at? What do I really love doing? And I was in acting classes from the time I was 7, and I did a lot of stage acting in Dallas as a young kid. I was in the Christmas Carol at the Dallas Theater Center, and
It's like a rite of passage.
yeah, and I did a lot of stuff. I was always constantly in classes for that, and then I majored in that in junior college, and I went and I did a lot of performances and plays in my time there. And I came across an improv class, and I took that, and I was like really good at it. Like, the teacher one time took me aside and was like, "Hey, I want to tell you, like, you're really good at this." And I don't really say that to a lot of people, but it's something that, normally people aren't as good at this as you are, just like coming into this. And
Did you think you were funny?
no, I never really thought about that. I was always just myself, but I always really enjoyed making people laugh, and that's something that just really floated my boat, man. Like, I just loved it. I loved to just get people going and just keep building. Like, I'm a builder when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, once I get it going, then I just keep tacking more stuff on. Which at the time I didn't understand this, but that's a comic way of doing things. Like, you're tagging, we call it tagging. So You have a subject, and this is something that comics love to do, is get together and talk. And then when we have a subject that we think is funny, and then it's just one person after another will just keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it until we're all just dying laughing. And that's something that me and my dad were always like that. You know, he's really funny. And
so you were taking improv classes. How old were you at this point?
I was probably like 17 or 18. Okay. I went into college at 16 because I was homeschooled, so I didn't. I just graduated. I got done with all the schoolwork I needed to do. You know, all the classes I needed to pass, I did. And then my mom was like, "Well, you want to go and try junior college?" You know, and I was like, "Sure." And I hadn't been to school since like 4th grade, and it was like a major culture shock. You know, and a lot of the people were older than me too. But over my life, I'd always been attracted to people that were older and been able to have conversations with people that were, you know, my best friend at that time was like 3 years older than me. You know, and I just kind of always gravitated towards older people. You know, and so that wasn't that weird, but everybody thought it was pretty funny that I was so young, you know. But that was like kind of the first taste of comedy that I got, of like me doing comedy. And then after I got a little bit older, and I got a job at an internet company because I'm a huge nerd too. You know, I've always like built my own computers and really been into gaming. And
how old are you?
I'll be 47 in January.
Well, yeah. Like when we were getting jobs, it was like everybody had a job at an internet company, and it was super sweet, and you barely worked at all. Yeah. But you made a ton of money. Yeah,
I mean, I was making, you know, 32 at 20, and with no college degree. So it was kind of like, you know, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, to be into that and continue to make even more money, you have to be even nerdier. And it's like I kind of have a level of nerdiness that I operate at, and to go more requires less showering and more passion for coding and languages, of computer languages, and I'm just kind of like, man, you guys are getting a little too deep for me now, you know. Like I know everything works, but I don't really need to be able to write it, you know. So I just really never. I bounced around from internet company to internet company for about 7 years, and I ended up getting married in my early 30s, I guess, maybe 34, something like that. I don't remember exactly. That was the first one, and in that time, we made each other so miserable because she wanted me to be this person who was the guy who was going and making the career at the company. And I was like, yes, I want that too. And she was like, well, good. And I'm like, yeah, but it's going to be hard to do. And she's like, I know. And then I'm like, I'm having a really hard time. I don't care. I really need this stuff. I can't give it to you because I just can't get this to do what I want it to do. And then during that time, I, had to really, like I was starting to tell you a minute ago, was just pull back and like figure out like what am I going to do with myself. And I started thinking about my time at school and my acting and I played classical piano for 12 years and jazz for another 3. So I've always been an artist, but not like a drawer or a painter. And I always thought about artists as those guys, like, oh, that's an artist. Or Nick, he's a photographer, that's an artist. I never really thought about like performing as art or, music as art, and then when I finally discovered that this is what I'm good at and this is what I need to be focusing on, regardless of money or career or any of that stuff, if I just put my energy into this, I know that things will flow, and when I did, they did, in a big way. It was so strange. Like the universe just opened up for me. And I'm going to tell you honestly, the effort that I put into comedy was minimal. Most comics are completely lazy. That's just how they are, and I'm no exception to that rule. But for me, 6 months in, I was working clubs and getting paid. Checks in Dallas. So I started in Dallas. I started at Hyenas, was there at Mockingbird, was their open mic, was where I really kind of started, going regularly. When I first started, I was going to 4 or 5 open mics a week, for a couple of years, and it took me a while to kind of get to the point where I was really comfortable being myself on stage. It took years, even with a performance background, and comedy's really, really personal, and it's when you're up there, it's not like anything else. I mean, it's do or die. Like, if you don't do, you die, and it's not it's not a good death, and it's really, really uncomfortable to bomb, and fortunately I haven't bombed a lot, I mean, I do bomb and I hate it, but I wouldn't say that over my formative years as a comedian I bombed a lot, you know what I mean? So I'm not trying to toot a horn or say like I'm so funny I never eat shit on stage, it's just, that's not true, but there does come a certain level of performance and experience with that from earlier that kind of helped it so that I didn't eat as much shit or bomb as much initially,
Do you have, obviously, you said, you're you on stage, but is it a version of you that's up on stage that's slightly different than maybe if I'm, if somebody were to come up and talk to you on the street?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very different.
What's your stage version?
It's just me times up to 11. I just take me and I turn it up.
Quite a bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cuss more. I'm quite a bit rowdier, more rowdy. I like to talk a lot of smack. I love doing crowd work. I love talking to the crowd. I love just asking people about themselves and then rolling with whatever they tell me. That kind of stuff is really fun.
Well,
but that's again
part
with
of
the
your improv.
Yeah, the
background.
improv thing.
Those classes were probably like the most fun classes I ever took.
Yeah.
I delayed taking those classes because I was like, I'm not funny. I'm not. And then I got in there and I was like, this is the best stuff.
Oh, it's so fun. Yeah, it's so fun. I mean, it's just, and I love that creativity, and I love that the not knowing what's going to happen next, and I love the working together to build something. When you're with people that are also really good at it, it's really one of the most fun things you can have. It doesn't even really matter if there's an audience there. I mean, if you guys
then
just,
you're making each other laugh, you become the audience for each other.
And that's what's so really cool about it. And it's so funny that like people love to go and see improv, but for the people that are doing it, it doesn't really matter if anyone's there because they're going to have the most fun anyway. They're going to make each other laugh.
Do you feel like the improv scene is? I didn't realize we were about the same age. I'm kind of excited. I thought I was older, honestly, but. Like, the improv scene was so
what's the
strong.
difference? I won't ask your age, but what are we talking here? Like 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years?
I know, I'm a year older than you.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's so weird. Because when we first met, this is kind of weird. I want to say this real quick. For me, younger me, I always thought everybody was so much older than me. And I've been saying that to my wife. I'm like, did you know that Biggie Smalls was 24 years old when he died? Like, that's crazy. I thought he was like 34 or, just back then I didn't pay attention to people's ages as much. And then it's like, you just assume that person was older, but it's like, really, we were like the same age, maybe he was like a year older than me, Yeah, it's interesting.
But
how funny.
Early, like when you were probably doing a lot of your improv stuff, like the improv scene in Dallas was like super strong. There were like so many different.
Several groups, that really were out there killing it.
And I know that, well, COVID took a big beating on them, but I think there's at least 2 strong ones
still
now. Is there? Are they?
I have no idea. I'm so out of it now. Yeah. I mean, I haven't even been on stage, and since my son was born, probably. So it's been over 3 years since I've performed.
All right, so circling back to The Universe Opens.
Yes.
Chris is on stage. And killing it.
Doing great, having a great time.
Do you prep your stuff before you go up? Like, what's your You're like, all right, I'm gonna go to such and such tonight. I'm gonna do these.
No. I mean, I keep it in my head, and I don't. I'm not the kind of comic where I like to write everything out, like where it's gonna hit, everything verbatim what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's just something that after you do it several times, you just remember how to do it. Whatever the bit is, and the points that you're going to hit. And since you're doing it all the time, you don't really lose it. Now I probably couldn't even go and tell one of those jokes, because it's been so long since I've actually done it. It would be a fumbling mess,
But you would you like, all right, I'm going to perform
I have
for
an
7
idea
minutes.
of, I'd have bits in an
Yeah.
order that I would do them in. And most of my stuff that I would write would be, 3 to 5 minutes each.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I was going to start with this bit. The middle was whatever. I just throw in whatever I wanted, whatever order I wanted to do it in. And then I was going to close on this one.
Okay.
So the beginning and the end were set. And if you really want to give yourself a good time, swap your end for your beginning and then do your closer, which is usually your best bit. Do that at the beginning and then do your opener at the end, or do one of your weaker ones at the end and try to get it so it's even better. You know what I mean? So.
And why would you change it up at the last minute like this?
Just for a challenge, just to kind of just prove to yourself that you can do it. Like there's a lot of in comedy, it's a solo endeavor, like there's no one there to help you. There's no one there to talk to you after you get off stage when you want to cry. There's no one there to pump you up before you get on. It's like, it's so personal. Like I said earlier, it's very personal and you're very alone. I've always felt at clubs, like whenever I've been at clubs, even though there's other comics there that I would work with, I didn't really maybe talk to them a whole lot. In between, like at the end of the night it's all right, but at the beginning and in the middle, it's something that you try to kind of keep your focus on what you're doing and drink copious amounts of alcohol and just think about like, what did I do on that first show that I loved that I want to do again on the second show, or what did I miss that I want to add into the next one? You know what I mean? So. Okay. You're very, I assume acting is probably the same way. I haven't done a whole lot of film or a commercial or anything like that, but I know that I remember having to learn lines and practice them to the point where you could say them like a conversation, like it didn't even feel like you were reading anything, Mm-hmm. And stand-up's a lot like that, and that's kind of the magic of it too, because when you do it, people will look at it and they go, man, this guy's so funny. It's like he's so natural. He's just talking. And it's like, that's what you want it to feel like. You don't want it to feel like you're going up there and you're reciting things that you've practiced before, that you've said before. So there's a lot of energy in comedy that goes into making things feel fresh.
Right.
And projecting a vibe of, this is the first time I'm saying this, So there is some smoke and mirrors when it comes to that, like.
I think everybody secretly wants to be a comedian.
Yeah.
Nobody has the chops to. Not nobody, but everybody secretly was like, God, I wonder if I could do that. What would it be like to come up with that and be funny? And
a lot of people,
cool.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, but that's the thing is like no one really understands that, and then people like in the audience will yell or talk or whatever, and they think that they're helping you, and you're like, you're not. Can you please shut up? Like, but they think that they can do it too, and you're like, listen, I know you think you're funny, and you could probably come up here and get a laugh, but you can't do this for an hour. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to maintain that level of entertainment solo for an hour. It's like,
I got maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, and a lot of people that have 5 minutes really have a minute. You know what I mean? And that's something that a lot of, even when I was a young and I won't say young because I've always been old while I've been doing it, but as a new comic, that's something that they always say they have this much time, and you can go, well, you probably don't. You probably really have 2.5 minutes. And even that might be okay. It might not be great. You know what I mean? So it's really just one of those things that it's something that takes time. It just takes time and practice. It's like the 10,000 hour rule. You have to put in 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. And it's just like that. I mean, there's no matter how much talent you have or how much you may be naturally good at it, you're going to have to apply those hours in another aspect of it, because it's there's so many facets to doing stand-up that people just don't even realize,
So if you're putting in the 10,000 hours, how can you be lazy at the same time?
Well, that's interesting too. Because all comics are inherently lazy, it's very difficult for them to be great. And that's why there's so few great comics at one time. Careers, they peak. They're almost like seasonal, like locusts. Like locusts will be in the ground for 10 years before they come out. And that's how it is to be a great stand-up. I mean, I've known guys that have been doing it for 35 years, and they're just now hitting the peak of their career. Like, they're as funny as they're ever going to be right now, and that's a culmination of, years and years and years of, touring, clubs, writing, and but interspersed in there, lots of socializing and lots of naps and lots of blowing things off and lots of, I'll just do it tomorrow, I'm going to play this game right now and then I'll write something later, and then you don't. And then you got to get up the next day and go, well, I'll write today. And you don't. And then it's like, then you just stack that on the years. And that's why it takes that long to be that funny. I mean, it's like, if comics weren't lazy, if they weren't inherently lazy, they would probably be way funnier, way faster, and their careers would be much, I don't know if I would say they'd even be longer, but they would definitely peak faster, I think. But it just really, you can't speed up that process. It's something that has to age, like wine, or like when you're brewing beer. It's like something that has to take the time to make. There's no shortcuts,
So why'd you leave here and go to LA?
I got divorced from my first wife. I had made the decision to do stand-up, which obviously didn't gel with her expectations of what she wanted her life to look like.
Right.
She wasn't happy about that. And
she wanted stability.
Absolutely, which I totally get.
Yeah.
I understand that, and I'm sure it was very hard for her to deal with that situation and realize that this guy is not going to be the guy that I thought he was going to be. And what's sad about that too for me is I'm not going to be that guy that I thought I was going to be. But I can't. I'm dying. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I was dying every day in that relationship, but not because of her, but just because of the pressure and of the uncertainty and the depression of not doing something that I really enjoyed doing and not being able to find that thing, and then when I actually put some effort in and I found this thing that I was really good at, naturally good at, I wanted to put time into that, and I wanted to explore that and see what I could do with it, and
So you got divorced.
She had a timeline. We were in our early 30s. She wanted to have children, all this stuff. The clock's ticking, dude. Come on, get a real job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just was a bad situation, really, for both of us that just had to stop, So we were living in Oak Cliff. We had bought a little house down there. We've been down there for about 4 years. And I was like, I think that it's probably best. She was like, we either need to separate, or we got to figure this out, And I was just like, well, I think I'm kind of figuring it out. And I think I'm figuring out that this is probably not going to go the way that you want it to go, So it's probably best if we just cut this off now. And we did, and we sold that house, and I took my portion of that sale and used that money to move to Los Angeles and set up a new life there and live there for as long as I could hack it, And that's what I did. I stayed with my parents for like a month until the sale went through, and I got my money, and she got her place and got comfortable, and I kind of helped her. I let her have everything. I was like, just take it all. I don't need any of this stuff. I'm not taking anything with me. Whatever I can fit in my car is what I'm going with, and that's what happened. And I drove out there. I mean, I had connections out there from doing stand-up here in Dallas for so long, and so I had somewhere to stay and someone to live with, and until I could get my own place.
Did you feel like you had a little bit of culture shock when you got there? Or did you assimilate pretty well?
I assimilated pretty well because most of the people that I was with were other comics. And I knew there was a small handful of comics that had kind of the more older seasoned ones from Dallas that had been here the longest, that had had the most success, had already been out there for, 3 or 4 years. So there was, and I knew all of them because they would come back here, in the holidays, or they'd come back here to work, the clubs. So, I had already had kind of a base of support there, a friend group there that I could go and be around. And then, comics are very social people, and we love to be around other people, and we love to listen and talk and discuss things, and those kind of traits are something that really kind of binds us all together. So it's a community. Like, comics love other comics, and they support other comics because they know, how difficult it is, and they know the amount of discipline it takes, despite being an inherently lazy person, to get any kind of success in comedy. So, if you're someone who gets booked and gets paid and can do at least 30 minutes, you're in good company if you're among other comics that are like that are professional, that have worked, that, there's no, I would say there's no like kind of, I won't say there's none. Obviously, someone like Jerry Seinfeld or Louis C.K. or people that are that established have their own groups of people, and they're not out to help me out or do. Sorry, I just had my mic. To do anything for me because they don't know me. But there are lots of comics out there that I know that are willing to help. Because they know, like, oh, that guy's funny. He's got this amount of time. He can come do this show. Or I'll put him on my show. And there's a lot of like putting people on different shows. And I hit the ground running when I got out there. I didn't. My friend was pretty plugged in. He was real established at the Laugh Factory there, so he kind of would bring me up there with him and introduce me around everybody. And I'm the kind of person where I'm real good at networking, and that's kind of 50% of the job. And what's unfortunate is that a lot of comics don't understand that. They don't understand that if you want to get work in this business, you have to know people. And if you don't go and meet people and spend time getting to know people, you're not going to know anyone, and no one's going to know you, and you're not going to get any work. In Dallas, they call it kissing ass, or S-ing D for stage time. They have a very different vibe about that process of networking, of getting to know other comics that are better than you, that can help you, because you do need help. It doesn't matter how funny you are. If no one knows who you are, they're not going to put you on stage. It's just not going to happen. So you have to have ins to get into places, and those ins are other comedians. Or you can go and try to hang out at a club and see if they'll put you up, but they won't, because they don't know who you are.
Do you think the difference is that because people, why there's this, oh, well, you're just kissing ass versus networking, is because so often it doesn't feel genuine?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It's like politics. It's like someone's shiny until they get into politics and it turns them into shit. And it's like the same kind of thing with that. It's like you're not approaching this with an ulterior motive necessarily. I would never kiss anyone's ass or try to get to know someone that I didn't have a connection with or I didn't like. You know what I mean? It's not, at least for me, that's not really the kind of person I am. The connections that I have were people that I met. I put myself in a position to meet those people, and what comes from that is 50-50. It's one way or the other. It's either they're going to like me and we're going to like each other and we're going to establish a relationship that'll be beneficial for both of us at some point, or we'll meet each other and they won't like me and I won't like them, and then that'll be that. And they'll just go on with their career and I'll go on with my career. You know what I mean? Or trying to make one. And I positioned myself when I first started with people that I thought were funny, that were, in my estimation of what's funny, in my estimation of what a good comic is. And by watching these people when I very first started at the open mic, or I'd go to shows and, they would go to the open mic and I'd be like, hey man, I'm Chris, I'm Justin, and we'd meet, and then I would know Justin, that I would know about him. I would know that he was a comic who worked. I would know that Justin was a comic who'd been doing it for 8 years. I would know that Justin's a comic who's established in Dallas. Now, I want to know Justin. Now, I don't know if Justin's going to like me or if he's going to think I'm funny or if he's going to even talk to me at all. But I will never find that out unless I go and talk to Justin.
Right.
And that's networking.
Yeah.
And what comes of that, I mean, you have to put yourself out there. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything out of the job. If you look at it as a career and as a job, that's what you have to do. You know, I mean, if you're looking at it as a hobby and as I'm just doing this because I think I'm funny and other people think I'm funny too, and maybe it'll turn into something, and but it's not going to turn into anything until I'm this thing that I think I need to be, or I'm this funny, that I think I need to be. That's not how it works, and a lot of people think that that's how it works. A lot of guys that, they just think that they'll just keep going up there, and one day somebody's going to go, wow, look at that guy.
We need to put him on
give that
HBO.
guy. We need to give him a job.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's not how it works. It's just never going to happen like that. It'll never happen like that. There's no one in Dallas that owns a comedy club that's in a position to do anything for you outside of Dallas. None of these people know. They don't know anybody that they can call and be like, hey, do something for this guy.
So how did you do out in LA?
I did great.
Yeah?
I did really well. I made a ton of connections. I got to meet so many comics that I'm a huge fan of, and spend time with these people, which was very, very surreal. And I had imposter syndrome the entire time, where I was like, I don't deserve to be here. These people, who am I?
But you were doing good.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really surreal when you get to meet your heroes and they're like right there, and they're cool, and they're like I said, comics are very they're very what's the word I'm looking for? They love other comics. And I don't mean like they love, like I just love to be around comics. It's not like that. It's like they know what's going on. They know the score. They know if you're there and you came from somewhere else and other people know you, then they know that you're all right. Like that guy's, I see him here all the time. I know he's all right. I've seen him do a set. I know he's all right. You know what I mean? And getting to work or being able to perform in front of people that I watched on television and even have them go, that was hilarious, after you come off stage, is like one of those things where you're like a schoolgirl. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened.
So how did you balance this, like, I'm doing really well with, oh my God, I'm an imposter, I'm going to be here, like...
I mean, it's just, I don't know how I would describe that.
Well, but on the one hand, you're like, I'm doing good.
I mean, you don't really, it's a retrospect kind of thing. Like when you look back at it and you go, I did pretty good out there.
Yeah.
When you're in it, it's very hectic. I mean, you're out all the time. I mean, I don't think I went to bed before 4 a.m. the entire 2 years I lived there. You know what I mean? Like, and now I go to bed at 11 and I wake up at 7 without an alarm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my life now is way different, but like then it's just it's like it's a whirlwind. I mean, it's an absolute whirlwind, and then people get spun right out of it all the time. You know
So what
I mean?
happened?
Like,
Why did you decide, I gotta go?
My apartment got flooded from the apartment above me, and it literally wrecked my entire apartment. Like the walls were bubbled from water in them, and like all my like the whole carpet, my bed, like it all came out of the ceiling fixture and just completely destroyed everything I had at that moment. And I was running low on money, and my parents had called me, and they were moving out of the house they were in, and they were I guess in their early 70s. So my mom was like, why don't you come home and help us do this and get us into a new place? And, and I was like, well, I do need to probably come home and save some more money and then make an effort to get back out there.
Did you so at that point, you'd pretty much run through all of the house sale?
Yeah, I mean, I worked while I was out there too. I did Uber and Lyft.
Were you making any money as a comedian?
No, you don't make any money as a comedian in Los Angeles.
Okay.
No comedian makes any money as a comedian in Los Angeles.
Live?
They go on tour.
Oh.
Yeah, those comedians they'll go on club tours or theater tours depending on their career level. Or there's a lot of people out there that act and they're comedians, or they're actors that, oh, I'm just doing comedy to build my resume or whatever, and there's not very many good ones of those, but there's people, everybody, it's a hustle. It's a complete hustle. It's really difficult. I mean, it's a grind that you have to have a really, really thick skin, and you have to really have a desire to get ahead. And if you don't have that drive and that grind, you're not going to get anywhere. By the end of the time that I was there, I had figured out that I didn't really need to be there. And I wish someone had told me that before I went and said, maybe you should focus on this more,
What's this?
Social media, building your own audience, doing your own content. That's all that stuff. When I went out there, that stuff was really just kind of kicking up and really.
And what year was this?
Starting. I want to say that was 2014, 2013.
Okay.
So, like Vine had come out, and people were like, becoming, millionaires off of their Vines, and everybody, it really kind of turned into this gold rush for people, where they would just hang out and try to make content all the time, and that wasn't really what I was into. I didn't really care about, I still don't really care about it that much. I feel like you kind of almost have to do it, but it almost feels like selling out in a way, because you're like, I'm just doing this so you guys love me, so you click on my thing, I get lots of clicks and likes. It's just weird, you know what I mean? It's like, it's way cooler to go.
I want you to do that voice some more.
It's way cooler to go to a club, do a set, get off stage, and have that entire audience in person walk by you and go, man, you were so funny. Can we take a picture with you? Man, that was so hilarious. I love this bit. Take a picture of with me and my wife. Like that stuff is way more fulfilling than, oh, I got these people to look at this stupid video. Now it's viral. You know what I mean? It's just that whole viral thing was really kind of kicking off right when I went out there. And I'm not going to say it was a mistake, because when I left Dallas and I came back, I was a different comic when I came back. I was way more of a murderer when I came back. Like, I went from hosting here, I did mostly hosting, which is the opening spot. It's like 10 minutes. And then maybe a little bit in between each comic. But I went from that to featuring when I came back, which is a 30-minute slot, which is the middle spot. And that's where I really felt like I came into my own and was able to like have that time to build a set that was, pretty solid for 30 minutes straight. And I got a lot of work when I came back, because I had been out there for 2 years. No one had seen me. And I came back and I was like, I want to work now here, and I want to feature now. And they were like, great. And from that point on, like when I came back to Dallas, I was working, all the improvs, all the hyenas here, doing 30-minute spots. So, and I did that for, I guess, until almost when my son was born. So that would have been, 2.5 years that after I came back from LA, that I really beefed up my game. You know what I mean? Like, I was getting into a position where I could go back out there if I wanted to and get seen by even more people, but like people that could actually do something for me as far as like a career. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So I came back a different animal, and then grew even stronger in that time. But then I met this woman. I came back. It's so funny. I came back to Dallas, and I was using OkCupid, the app, the dating app in LA. And I went on a few dates out there, and it was kind of boring. And I was really kind of more focused on what I was doing, but it was just kind of like, And then I came back here, and I started looking at it, and the difference between Dallas OkCupid and LA OkCupid is like not good. There's like, in LA, everyone is amazing, gorgeous. I came back here, and I was like, it was just not good. But then this woman messaged me, and she was beautiful. And we went on a date, and that was it. And she was my person. I just knew, like, from the moment that first date, like, I was like, this person's for me. This is the one for me. And now we got 2 kids, and now I stay at home and yell at kids.
Do your kids
as nicely as I can.
Do your kids think you're funny?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
they like your favorite audience to tell jokes to?
No, my wife is. I
Is
like
she?
to. She could be a comic. She's really funny and really mean.
What does she do?
She's a dentist.
Okay.
So there you go. She's horribly cruel. No, she's great. But she's really funny, and we both make each other laugh. And she's someone who, I can go on a rant and just tag something up and just get her laughing too. And my kids they're super funny. They say it skips a generation, but I don't know, man. Like my she has a very mature sense of humor, and she really gets jokes that for 6 years old, I'm like, you think that's funny? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, why do you think that's funny? Because this. I'm like, well, that is why it's funny. I'm like, I can't believe you know that, So she's really got kind of a developed sense of humor. So she's
What
a
if your
lot of
daughter
fun.
came to you and was like, hold on.
I want to do stand-up.
Yeah, I want to do stand-up, but we're not moving.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And I just want to see.
See where it stopped?
Well, the sound is going, and it doesn't mean that it's not. It just...
I love that kind of stuff.
Oh, I see.
Do you fill your phone up?
Maybe it's going again. No, I don't think so. It's not recording on the phone.
Oh, does it stream it to your laptop?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
pretty
no,
cool.
it's not streaming to the laptop. It's going to the cloud.
Oh, the cloud.
The cloud.
Interesting.
But it had a low battery thing come
Oh.
up, so it's probably it may have just, I don't know what it did.
Yeah.
It could have just frozen for like 2 seconds, and now we're
All right.
back. I
Now
don't
we're
know.
back.
So yeah, but if your daughter was like, "Daddy, I want to be a stand-up comic," what would you say?
Well, let me tell you a little story. One night, I was at the open mic, and this was after I was an established comic, and I was back here from Los Angeles, and this really, really cute girl, it was like her first night, and she was going to go and do the open mic. And, we're all at the bar hanging out, and, she starts chatting me up, and she's like, you need to come, she's like, come watch my set. I'm like, oh God, all right. So I go in there, and I'm like, this is going to be so terrible. And it was. And it was just absolutely horrible. It was horrible. It was not even remotely funny at all. And she got out. She came out into the showroom. She came out into the bar area again. And her mom was there. She brought her mom with her. And she was like, what'd you think? I was like, I got to tell you, it was just not good. I don't think this is for you. Like, it's just not. It's just not for you. I don't think there's anything that you could do that would... I saw nothing that I was like, you would be really great at this. And I know that sounds super mean, and you're probably like, screw this guy. But I wish that someone had come and told a whole bunch of people that, because there's lots of people that come out and try to do this thing, and they stick with it for years, and it never... I mean, it's like, if you love it and you want to do it, then do it. By all means. I'm not going to tell you not to. But if you're doing this because you think that you're going to be famous or that you're going to be an amazing comic, it's not going to happen. It's just not. And like, and I'd always wanted to do that. I always wanted to crush someone who had just started. I wanted to crush their dream, because it's a horrible business. It's very crushing. I mean, I'm sure as an actress, it's like you go and audition for things, and you don't get them, and you just have to keep going.
Yeah.
It's very hard. Comedy's not really like that. It's not like there's a bunch of people that look like you that could probably come and do this role. You know what I mean? Or there's a bunch of people that could, do this. It's like it's just you, man. And you're all there is. There's not another guy that looks like me who's even funnier than I am who's about to come out here. It's like, I'm the one.
Right.
And if I don't come out here and murder it, there's no show. You know what I mean? So it's not really something that, if you want to get into it as a hobby, then great. If you want to go to open mics and just do it. But she had like this kind of, like, she was like, I'm going to be really great at this. And I was like, well, I mean, we'll see. I'll watch you. But I'm going to be honest with you when you're done. I'm going to shoot you straight.
If your daughter says that to you?
I'm going to tell her, look, go ahead. Try it.
Do you think
see
she'll
what you
want
think.
to?
I don't know. She's never seen me perform. I would hope that at some point she will be able to. I'm kind of playing with the idea of putting, a set together and going back because I love it. I never wanted to stop. It's just I had to. I didn't. It takes a lot of energy, like I was saying. Someone
the
who's
lifestyle is not conducive for children.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, and now it's just I can't even fathom it because I have to get up. I have to take my daughter to school. Just to be there at 8. So we got to get up at 6.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time. I hate getting up in the morning. It's literally I hate it more than anything in this life, in this world, is waking up on purpose. I like to wake up on accident. I like to wake up when I wake up. Like, oh, it's time to wake up. I just woke up and nothing even helped me. I just woke up. That's the kind of wake up I like. I don't like the alarm wake up or the thing that you have to get up now because you have to go and you have to do this. It's like that kind of wake up. I think
comedy would be very different now. You have a whole treasure trove of children and those things, man.
Man, what's really weird about comedy is that I do, but so do a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And whatever I do, it has to be different from what they're doing. So you always have to think like, well, if I did family material, how am I going to make it better or funnier than Jim Gaffigan, who does nothing but family material, and he's completely clean, and he slays. Like he completely has specials all over Amazon. He's hilarious.
Family and bacon.
Family and bacon. I can't touch that, dude.
No.
He's too good.
But you can tell
and there's
family
guys
stories.
that like, sure, I got a ton
your
of those.
Stories are going to be different than anybody else's, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean,
maybe. It's weird. It's kind of weird because the longer you do the job, the more you realize that everybody's pretty much the same. We all have pretty much the same experiences, the same stories. And it's just like, it's about your viewpoint, for sure. I don't know how different my viewpoint would be about my children than it would be from any other comic that has children. I mean, we're all funny and we all think about it and we all have a very kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? We have I can't think of the word. We have a nonchalance about parenting, I think. At least I do. Like, I love being a parent, but it's super challenging, and I don't take it super serious sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. But all comics are extremely screwed up people, and we're all just trying to be good people. And that is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, which is, since I had kids, I hate myself. I didn't hate myself before. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was fine. Like, I was like, I'm good. I'm a good person.
But you hate yourself now?
Yeah, because I'm not. Because I figured out after I had children that, I'm not. Oh, I'm fucked up. Oh, I got a lot of issues. Oh, man. Like, and it's just been that kind of experience for me. I would hope that it's that same kind of experience for most people. I don't think it is, unfortunately. I feel like a lot of people are raising just insane lunatics. But for me, my experience has been very eye-opening, almost therapeutic for having children.
Do you go to therapy?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
is this a new thing?
Yeah, in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. I mean, again, if you're going to be a successful stand-up comic, you're out of your mind. You just have, I mean, you're narcissistic. You are focused on yourself. You've probably been damaged and hurt a lot in your childhood, which is why you have this attention-seeking thing that you need to be liked and loved by people. And now you're selfishly up there making it all about you. You're the only person in the room with a microphone. Everybody, listen to me. Listen to what I have to say. It's so important and funny, That doesn't translate very well to when you have children and you want them to turn out to be, productive, normal people in society. And what I've discovered now is, like, now that I hate myself, is that I want my children to be different than me. And to do that, I can't just tell them. You know what I mean? Like, I can't just be like, do this and you'll be normal, or do this and you'll be okay. I have to be different. You know what I mean? Like, the change comes from within me. And unless I change, they're going to be just like the person I don't like.
Yeah.
So that's something that like recently I'm kind of like trying to wrap my head around, but then also make it funny. So I'm like, how can I write a bit about this? Like, surely I can't be the only person on the planet who has had children and then gone, oh my God, I'm so screwed up. I can't let this continue. If I continue this way, then they're going to be screwed up, and then they're going to have this, and then, and you start like thinking about all that shit, and it's like, it's doing a number on me right now. It's something that I'm like really actively like dealing with and trying to work through, and it's every day is a struggle of being a normal, whatever that means, a sensitive, patient, kind person.
Where are you in your therapy? Are you still yes, in and out?
Where am I?
Different ones.
Yes.
But as far as in your therapy, are you still digging in the past? Are you building? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because you have to dig to be like, why do I have these things? Why?
Well,
before you can start to really understand why and what you want to do differently. Does that make sense?
I think I'm kind of at the point where I'm still figuring out all the ways that I'm screwed up and how those are affecting the people around me.
Okay.
So there's a level of awareness now that I have for that kind of thing, and every day is like an exercise and thinking and feeling about those things, and how do I make this as smooth for everybody? That's another part of me. I'm a people pleaser, so I'm trying to work on self-care and doing things that are positive for myself.
Is that part of the reason why you're not doing stand-up comedy?
No, absolutely not. No. I'm just not doing it because I don't have the time and the energy to do it. It's very consuming. And it's very you have to be very focused on yourself when you're doing it. When you're writing, when you're thinking about it, even when you're going and performing, it's all very like about you. And right now my life's not about me. It's about these two little people and my wife and my family, and that is a huge adjustment that I have to make in order for those things to work.
Were you okay with walking away?
I didn't really have a choice.
No, you may have a choice. Were you okay with the choice?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I feel it's so important. I feel like I didn't get a lot of quality time from my dad growing up. Mm-hmm. And now that I am a dad, mm-hmm. I really enjoy spending quality time with my kids. That's like something that really fills my cup. So it's almost like I have a new cup. I had an old cup that I was filling myself that was about me, that had my name on it, and this is the Chris Corlae cup. And now I have, this is my children, and this is my wife, and this is my family, and now this is the cup that I'm working on filling. It's much more difficult to fill that cup than it is to fill my own cup. I'm finding, and that's where the challenge, and that's where the difficulty is. It's not easy, and it's not easy for me to do that. And I'm sure for a lot of people it's really easy for them. If that's where that's the kind of person they are, that's how their life, the way they were raised, or whatever. We all have different backgrounds, and certain things are easy for people, and certain things aren't. And the older I get and the wiser I get, the more I realize that, we're all different, and no one's perfect, and we all do things differently, and we all view everything and experience everything so differently. And for me, being a dad and being present and being patient and being kind and being understanding and being all those things that a parent needs to be is really hard. And I don't have any shame in saying that. I'm a product of of my environment and who I was raised by and how I was raised, and there was a lot of things in that were really difficult and really tough to get through, and I built a lot of protections and mechanisms for me to be able to survive that, that don't translate into my family life now, and they don't really allow me to to do and have my family the way I want to, the way I want to be. I think of how I want to be and how I, want to be with my children and my wife, and I do a pretty good job most of the time. But it's a lot of work, you know what I mean? And for some people, I'm sure it's easier. I would expect, it can't be this hard for everyone. I wouldn't hope. I wouldn't say that it's easy for anyone, but
No, I think it's just hard.
yeah, maybe it's just I will say that it's probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life besides stand up.
That's what they talk about. Everybody talks about, being present with your kid. It's not just. I mean, I don't know if somebody just has a job. Let's say they're an accountant. They can think about their job and their numbers all day.
Sure.
They can lose themselves in their job the same way that, you can lose yourself in comedy, and I can lose myself in a role. But it's really a lot harder to be present with my kids if I've got this role over here that I'm thinking about, and this person that I'm working on, and this character that I'm becoming.
Sure.
And my head gets all of that. My head's happy that I'm with my kid, but my heart still misses that other stuff,
Yeah.
And that's where the conflict, for me at least, the conflict. I don't want to go and be on set for 16 hours all day because I know that's not going to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I'm like,
Oh, it's so fun.
it is so fun.
I know it. I know.
So fun.
I know. I love to. I mean, God, I miss weekends. I miss like working a weekend at a club.
So question for you, because there's this moment in theater when you're up on stage, and I don't know what exactly happens, but it feels like all sound in the audience has stopped.
Mm-hmm.
People have stopped breathing, they've stopped coughing, they've stopped moving, and you're like, oh my God, I've got them. They're with me. Mm-hmm. You get that in comedy? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a quiet thing.
No?
It's a rolling thing. It's a momentum. It's really it's an interesting phenomenon, and it's something that you have to do it for a long time to be able to do it. But once you know how to do it, once you get to the level where you can do it, it's like nothing else. I mean, it's literally like nothing else. You get that whole room right here, and you can do no wrong. I can do no wrong right now. I could just say something completely stupid right now, and all of you would laugh because I have you right here.
Everybody's with you.
I don't even have to do material. I'll just stop doing material. I'll just start just talking. We'll just talk about whatever. That kind of thing is like, it's very it's interesting. Like audiences are, the laughter, it ripples. It's alive. Like it goes through the whole room. And there's different parts of the room that laugh at different things. I've done shows where one half of the room is dying and the other half of the room is like, and I've actually had to go, okay, what's going on over here? Are you guys from Fort Worth? Like, why is this like this? How, why? Like, something is here. Then I don't know what it is. I can't identify it, but for some reason, this half of the room is absolutely having an amazing time, destroying this half of the room. This half of the room is like, he's all right. I mean, he's passable, But I mean, it's really bizarre, and I mean, there is it's like an animal. I mean, it's living, it's energy. It's literally energy, and when you figure out that you're in control of that energy and you can do with it what you want, it's really magic, and it is a very.
But control is an illusion.
No, it's not. No, I'm in control. Absolutely, yeah. Oh yeah, because I don't know. Like, the people don't know anything. They don't know what's coming next. I do.
Yeah.
Like, you guys thought that was funny? Wait till you hear this next one, dude. But I can't stop the show and be like, all right, you guys thought that was funny. It's like, that's not how it works. But I know. So I know that if I got you like this on the first 2 bits, the next 4 bits you guys are done. Yeah. Like, you don't even know what's coming. You have no idea what's about to happen, I know. So yeah, I mean, that's, again, like, I am in control. There's no, when it gets to that, I mean, it's just, every crowd's different, you know what I mean? Like,
what do you do if you've lost the crowd?
Oh, just tighten your belt, buddy. You got however much time you got up there. Hopefully you didn't lose them in the first 10 minutes and you got 20 more to go. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, that can definitely happen. That's happened. I mean, I've had shows where on a weekend I worked a Friday where the first show I absolutely murdered and the second show I was like crickets. And I just stood up there going, man, these guys are weird. Like, this is a weird crowd, dude. It's me, it's my fault. It's all my
Is it
fault.
though? I mean, you think about
Yeah.
it's so weird though. Like audiences have like their own thing, their own energy. Like an afternoon audience is different from a late night audience.
Sure. Yeah, the late night audiences are the rowdiest.
Yes.
Those are the craziest, and for my money, the most fun. Like those are the ones that I like.
I mean, I get that you can obviously,
but
maybe not do as well, but like
Sure.
that, you can't control.
I can pinpoint the spot where it went south, and I can take full responsibility for why it went south, because I did this joke to this crowd in this way, and I didn't do it as good as I usually do it. I don't even know why I did it. I should have just looked at this crowd and gone, well, they're not going to like that one, and just scrapped it. But I don't, because I'm an asshole. Okay? Because again, it's for me. It's not for you guys. As much as you think it is, as much as you think that you paid a ticket to come here and this is about you, it's not. This is about me. Okay? And if I mess it up and you guys don't think it's funny, that's my fault. I messed up. And I can tell you, like, I can, like the night that this happened, my second wife, my wife now, she came and saw me at Arlington Improv, which is a black room. There's nothing but black people go to that club. So whenever you go, the headliners they all have are black headliners.
All right.
The features as well, and I'm the polka dot. So it's a kind of room where things can go south real quick, and they will stay south. There, you get yourself into a hole you will not be able to dig out of, and they don't care. They like it, in fact. They'll probably be like, God, I'm glad that dude sucked. Good, he's terrible. I hope we never see him again. You know what I mean? Like, there are crowds that are like, black people do not care that you're doing bad. In fact, I think they kind of enjoy it a little bit. And I've worked that club a lot. It's kind of, I would almost say my home club. Like, they have my picture on the wall at that club. Don't want to toot horn, but that's my spot. It was for a long time. So I know what it's like to work in a club like that. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the average comic. It's not for beginners. It's not even for medium, the mid-level. You got to have your shit on lock when you go in there, because they do not care. They will sit there like this and let you die. There's no courtesy, no, there's none of that. It's just this. Like, man, you sure aren't funny. And I've gotten heckled at that club. I've gotten heckled like horribly at that club. I've had people yell stuff out.
You cannot let the heckler have the last word.
That's true. That's true. One time, I don't know if it was that weekend, but I had to let the heckler have the last word, and it pissed me off. Probably to this day, if I think about it, I'll get mad about it. But I was already running the light, which means I was already over my time. And this guy said something, and I was like, I got to get off the stage, unfortunately. And I did. I was like, okay. And I just left. And I was just leaving. This sweet lady goes, honey, you were funny. Don't listen to that guy. And I was like, all right, whatever, man. So then I went back in there, and then I came out on the second show, and this dude heckled. And this time he was wearing this suit that looked like a carnival barker from some 1920s old movie or something. He looked like, I don't remember what I said to him. I told him he looked like the Undertaker for the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. And the whole room completely died, like they just died. Because another thing that black people like is if you roast one of them real good after they've been trying to roast you. If you flip it around like that, you're like, oh, you're trying to roast me? How about I roast you real good? And I did, and that was it. I mean, I could do no wrong. Yeah. After that, they were like, this guy, that dude roasted him. He turned around, roasted him harder, and he's still standing there. Like, we got to give it to him. It's amazing. It's great, But I mean, it's like, that kind of stuff is, yeah, for sure. You don't want to let a heckler get the last laugh. But I've only had one time where they did. but because I had to leave. I was like, if I don't leave now, the club's going to fire me. You know, they don't like that. They will. They're like, this guy can't keep his time. That's real important.
All right, so before I run out of battery, which apparently is going to happen, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. I think we hit all the stuff, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. We didn't talk about if the LA audience is better than the Dallas audience. That was the only thing. I'd always heard there's something about, like, supposedly Dallas audiences are like, we just sit down, like, versus, like, at sporting arenas, like, people in Dallas will sit on their butt, whereas other places they're, like, up and active. Is that bullshit?
I mean, I don't know about. I mean, comedy, everybody's got to sit down. You know, you can't. You can't be up wandering around. Otherwise, you will get heckled by me. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I'll heckle people that go to the bathroom sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah, like this will be fun for everybody. I don't know. All I can say is Fort Worth audiences are some of the best audiences I've ever worked in front of, and you wouldn't think that. But they're really nice, man. Like, they're so nice.
Fort Worth is
and
not
so
pretentious.
Fun. At all.
No. Fort Worth,
they like to have a good
Dallas,
time, man.
and they don't give a shit.
They don't.
They're not Dallas.
No, they have a great time. I've
Austin,
always had a great time working in Fort
Austin
Worth.
is like, we're the coolest people in Texas.
Oh, they're so cool in Austin. They don't even like comics from Dallas coming down there. They're like, we're good. We have our own comics here. We don't need you.
Houston's just pissed off that Dallas doesn't like them for some reason, and Fort Worth doesn't care.
No.
They're like, whatever. We just don't care about anybody.
No, I mean, Fort Worth that's a really cool town. I love Fort Worth. My ex-wife is actually from Fort Worth, so I spent a lot of time out there, and I'm born and raised in Dallas. I never really got out to Fort Worth that much, but since I guess my early 30s, I've been out there a lot.
Yeah.
And I love that city. I mean, it's really cool. There's all the people are super cool. You would think they'd be, more, I don't know, redneck or more country, but they're really not. I mean, they're super down to earth, super fun, and always good shows in Fort Worth.
Gosh, they're such good
I've
shows.
never had a bad show in Fort Worth, ever. And I mean, Dallas is great. I mean, the clubs here, all the clubs in the Metroplex are really good. Arlington's the roughest of them.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to officially thank you now.
Okay.
Thank you for being here. We can keep talking though, but it's going to run out.
All right.
I'm going to have to make sure that I keep that one charged if I do this setup. But this was like the first time I've done this setup this way.
Yeah.
So
This was nice.
You made it to the end. Did you forget and leave the computer on? I'm just kidding. Drop us a line at giveagencydallas.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks.